All right, so today we're diving into a paradox. I mean, it's a really interesting one that's costing companies, well, billions.
Billions, yeah.
And I want you, our listener, to just imagine this scenario for a second. You've invested, heavily in the latest CRM. Your customer data platform is perfect.
Mm-hmm. Top-tier tools.
Exactly, top-tier enablement tools. And your product is genuinely competitive. Maybe it's even the best in its class.
Oh.
And yet, your deals are stuck.
They just stall. Or they go into these endless negotiation cycles.
Or they just vanish, completely gone from the fight line.
It's the central, painful question for pretty much every leading organization right now. Why are we losing deals when, on paper, we've done everything right?
Right.
And if you look at the deep research, the process improvement studies, the answer that keeps coming back is it's incredibly consistent. And it's actually pretty simple.
Or is it?
It's trust.
Trust. Okay, simple, maybe, but historically, trust has always been filed under, soft skills.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the buzzword you hear in a motivational meeting, not something you build a strategy around. So how do we pull it out of that realm of just feelings and actually put it on a dashboard?
Well, that's the trust transformation we're seeing. We're literally moving trust from being a nice-to-have capability to a critical, measurable KPI, a key performance indicator.
So you're saying the leading organizations are actually changing what they measure.
Completely. They're focusing less on the sheer volume of activity, how many calls you made, how many emails you sent, and they're pivoting entirely to the quality of the customer relationship. They've realized the old metrics are just symptoms.
And trust is the engine underneath.
Trust is the engine.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to unpack that shift. We need to dissect the really shocking performance impact of trust, define the 3 pillars organizations are using to build it systematically, and then get into the really concrete stuff.
The new KPIs.
The new trust-driven KPIs that move this from just theory into day-to-day operational reality. Because the most striking piece of data we analyzed shows that over 30% of deals that fail, they're not lost because of price or features.
It's an incredible statistic. That 30% really reveals that the entire basis of competition has changed. The old metrics are still there, of course.
Sure, you still have to track revenue.
You still track conversion rates, you track revenue, but those are now seen as lagging indicators. The real focus is on the leading indicators, the measurable behaviors that show you trust is present. That foundation makes everything else, all those traditional KPIs, achievable.
I think this is so critical for everyone to get because trust it's not a one-way street, right? It's a dual impact factor. It affects the customer and the seller.
Absolutely. Let's think about the customer experience first. When a customer genuinely trusts the seller, the entire buying process just gets streamlined. It's dramatic. Well, they make decisions faster. Their perception of risk is way lower, so they engage in significantly less negotiation. They just assume you have good intent, which cuts out so much friction.
The sale stops being a confrontation and becomes more of a collaboration.
Precisely. And then there's the human element on the seller side, which we so often miss. Sales professionals who feel trusted by their customers, they report this massive boost in work energy, in motivation. They stop feeling like they're in a constant battle or that they're, pushing a product on someone who doesn't want it.
That's a huge internal shift.
Yeah.
Going from just a closer to a trusted advisor. That has to be a major driver for performance and just keeping your best people.
It's the primary explanation for why performance can be so different, even among colleagues. You can have 2 sales execs, same territory, same product, same price sheet. One closes deals easily, the other is just struggling endlessly.
And it's not about who has the better slide deck.
It's not the slides, it's about that measurable trust variable they are consistently generating.
It makes sense. If you don't trust me, you're going to put up walls, demand endless documentation, bring in 3 extra people to approve it.
And you'll immediately start looking for a cheaper option just in case.
And all that friction is measurable. You can literally count the days it adds to the sales cycle.
Which brings us back to the cost of that trust gap. That stunning 30% failure rate that isn't tied to product or price. If a deal is failing and the price is right and the features are a match, it means one thing.
The customer still doesn't trust you.
They don't trust the seller or the company or the solution enough to actually commit.
That is a massive hidden leak in the pipeline. So if we accept this as a trust issue, what are the systemic root causes? It can't just be a few awkward conversations.
No, it's never just that. The root causes highlighted in the research really point to a systematic misalignment of intent. And it's critical for you to spot these in your own process.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first big one, Sales personnel rush the close before they've truly understood the customer's problem. They're focused on their own quota deadline, not on actually solving the problem in the best way.
They're following the calendar, not the context. I see a second major cause in our material here too. Data inconsistency.
Yes, this is a huge one. When the message a customer gets from the marketing team, say from an ad or a webinar, doesn't perfectly align with what the sales team is saying.
It creates confusion.
And confusion is lethal to trust. The customer starts thinking, wait, does their left hand even know what their right hand is doing? That internal mess projects externally as risk.
And then there's the most, I think, relatable reason for the gap. It's that emotional switch where the customer feels, often correctly, that the sales rep wants to sell them something more than they want to help solve their problem.
That perceived selfishness just activates all their defense mechanisms. And then finally, there's the lack of immediate targeted social proof.
So if I'm making a big, risky decision and I don't see proof that people who look just like me, same industry, same size, same problem, have succeeded.
You feel isolated, you feel unsafe. And that hesitation is what you see when a deal just goes silent or the customer says, let's revisit this next quarter.
So the big realization here is that you can't solve this with, better speech training. The problem is systemic.
Which means the solution has to be systematic. Customers don't buy from the best talker. They buy from the one they trust the most. We have to build a process that generates trust as its core output, not just hope it happens by luck.
Okay, so let's get into that system. The research is clear that trust doesn't come from just talking smoothly. It comes from the customer feeling profoundly understood.
That's the core principle.
And leading organizations are using 3 key pillars to get there. Let's start with the first one, insights.
Insights. This means going way beyond just knowing their name and their job title. It means understanding the customer sometimes better than they understand themselves.
How do you do that? I mean, that sounds almost like you're predicting the future.
Well, you are, in a way. You're using your technology, your CRM, and your customer data platform, not just for tracking, but for deep contextual understanding. A lot of this is powered by things like conversation intelligence or CI.
Give us an example. What does that look like for a sales rep preparing for a call?
So instead of just reading the last email, the system serves them up a report. It might say, here are the 3 problems this company searched for most on our website in the last month, or here are the specific pain points their peer group is talking about in the news right now.
Wow. So you can start the conversation by addressing a problem they haven't even said out loud yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine walking in and instead of a generic pitch, you say, look, based on what we see with companies scaling from 500 to 1,000 employees in your industry, the 2 biggest risks you're probably facing are X and Y. Does that sound right?
That's incredibly powerful. It changes everything. You're speaking directly to their unstated context.
Mm-hmm.
It builds trust instantly because you feel seen.
Precisely. Now, here's the challenge, right? Doesn't this level of behavioral data collection risk feeling a little intrusive, a little creepy?
It absolutely does if you deliver it clumsily.
Yeah.
The key is to transform that data into genuine empathy. You use it to guide the conversation, not to dictate it. It shows you've done your homework and you respect their time, so you can skip the basic questions and get right to solving the problem. It doesn't feel intrusive. It feels professional.
That's a great point. And that leads us right into the second pillar, social proof.
Okay, so if the first pillar is about that internal feeling of being understood, this one is about the external anxiety.
Exactly. It's about safety and numbers. We know that confidence gained from seeing others succeed accelerates decisions. But, and this is the key, the proof has to be relevant.
Right. It can't just be any success story.
It has to be highly specific. A customer buying, say, a complex software solution doesn't just need a case study. They need a case study from a company in their exact vertical facing a similar challenge and ideally of a similar size.
Because that's what allows them to think, okay, if someone with my exact constraints made this work, I can too. It makes the decision feel shared, not like they're all alone on an island.
Right. The best tools now let sales reps dynamically filter their whole library of proof points based on the customer CRM data. It ensures the evidence is surgically relevant every single time.
Okay, so we have insights and social proof. What's the third pillar?
The third is emotional signals. And this one is about operationalizing consistency. It's about making sure the interaction always feels like a conversation with a trusted person, not a transaction with a sale quota attached.
Now, this is where it can feel a little fluffy again. How do you make emotional signals a measurable part of a sales process?
You measure the proxies for it. For example, successful organizations are using AI tools to score their sales conversations. One of the best proxies for genuine listening is the talk-to-listen ratio.
Talk to listen, okay?
If a sales rep's ratio goes over, say, 70-30 so, 70% talking, 30% listening, it's a massive red flag.
It's a clear signal they're not listening. They're just rushing, probably overwhelming the customer.
All of which is toxic to trust. So that idea of not rushing the close isn't just a manager saying, be nice, it's a system flagging a poor listening score. That's how you operationalize empathy.
And the process itself can enforce this. It can actually prevent the rep from moving to the proposal stage until these trust-building metrics are hit.
Exactly right. And this is where we cross that line from just talking about theory to actually designing dashboards. If trust is our central driver, it has to be in our metrics.
So let's get into that. What does a trust-driven dashboard actually look like? What are the specific, actionable metrics?
We're seeing 4 key behavioral indicators pop up again and again. The first is time to second meeting.
Speed is a proxy for trust. Explain that connection for us.
Customers who feel that initial trust in the first call, they're quick to schedule the next one. The friction is low because they actually see value in talking to you again. If it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get that second meeting on the calendar.
It's not because they're busy.
It's not because their calendar is full. It's a red flag that initial trust was too low and they're hesitant to invest more time. You track the variance. If your average is 3 days and this person takes 10, you know you have a trust deficit to fix.
Okay, that's a great leading indicator. What's number 2?
The second critical KPI is content engagement before closing. This one requires integrating your sales enablement tools. We're tracking whether the customer is repeatedly opening and reading key documents.
Like case studies or the proposal itself.
Exactly. High trust is shown by high engagement. If they open the proposal, glance at the price, and sign, they're either desperate or they're not really committed to the value. Fragile trust. But if you see they've spent 30 minutes in that document over 3 days...
They're investing intellectual capital. They're vetting it because they believe in it.
Yeah.
That digital body language is a direct reflection of commitment.
It is. Okay, the third KPI is deal reopen rate. This is about tracking deals you marked as lost or postponed only to see them pop back up later.
And a high reopen rate signals.
Yeah.
What about trust?
It signals a fundamental failure in that initial phase, usually because of rushed closing tactics. The customer wasn't ready, they felt pressured. When the problem comes back, the deal reopens, but you've wasted so much time and damaged the relationship.
So a high reopen rate should trigger a mandatory review of that whole qualification stage.
It has to. You have to make sure your reps aren't skipping the critical trust-building gates.
That's super specific. All right, finally, let's talk about the internal metric that projects externally. Sales to sales handoff quality.
This is a measure of internal trust, and it has a direct impact on the customer's confidence. It measures how consistently data is transferred between internal teams.
Like from a junior sales rep to a senior account executive.
Or from sales to the implementation team. If the customer has to repeat their basic story, their challenges, their goals, every time they talk to someone new,
external trust just evaporates instantly.
You need systems to score that handoff. Did the senior AE refer back to the exact pain points the first person logged? If your internal team doesn't trust their own shared data, the customer quickly loses trust in your whole company.
So bringing this all together, are we saying that trust replaces revenue as the goal?
Not at all. That's a key point. Trust doesn't replace traditional KPIs like revenue or deal volume. It's the mechanism that makes those goals achievable with less effort and more predictability.
It's the efficiency driver.
It's the ultimate efficiency driver. When trust is measured and prioritized, sales cycles shorten, profit margins stabilize, and hitting your revenue number becomes less of a struggle.
So the competition in 2026 isn't about who has the flashiest demo or the biggest discount anymore.
No, it's a competition of systemic trust. Who can build it the fastest, measure it the most accurately, and sustain it most reliably?
And when you elevate trust to a measurable KPI, sales success stops being about luck or charisma.
And becomes a repeatable, improvable process. And the best outcome of all is that the relationship itself shifts. You move beyond just closing a deal to building a partnership where the customer wants to come back to you for more business, for renewals, for advocacy. That's the real long-term value.
That's the metric that keeps compounding. So as you reflect on this deep dive, here's a final thought to consider. In your own field, in your own process, where can you take that intangible quality of trust and convert it into a concrete, measurable behavioral indicator? Because if you can define it And if you can measure it, you can absolutely improve it.